What do you think kids should be studying these days?
Resilience, adaptability, a high rate of learning, creativity, certainly familiarity with the tools.
So should kids still be learning how to code? Because I've heard people say, don't need to learn how to code anymore, just math, just biology.
Well, I'm biased because I like coding, but I think you should learn to code. I don't write code very much anymore, although I randomly did yesterday. But learning to code was great as a way to learn how to think. And I think coding will still be important in the future. It's just going to change a little bit, or a lot. We have a new tool.
What's creamy? I think I just found a use case where an insane Vim macro will be 3% faster than just doing it manually, so let's get into it. The problem is I have a bunch of art files for my board game. A lot of them are PNGs, but some are TIFFs and some are JPEGs, and I want them all to be PNGs, and that's just because TIFFs are, I think, intended for print, or maybe they're higher resolution, and then JPEGs are, they just don't have an alpha channel. They're a little smaller, but you want an alpha channel when you're layering multiple things, which I plan to do, so I want them all as PNGs. The software to do that is going to be FFmpeg for sure, or I guess ImageMagick, but FFmpeg just works also because it's built for video like file manipulation, and images are basically just frames in video, so it's capable of that too. So what I'm going to opt to do is list this out again, and then this time pipe it into Vim. And we want to run some kind of command on all the non-PNGs. So let's get rid of the PNGs with a g/png/d, and that'll get rid of all of those. And then we want to run a command on all of these lines. It could be some kind of regex here to capture everything, to format this into like the correct FFmpeg command, but I'm just going to opt to use norm because I find it more intuitive. So I think what this is going to involve is going to the beginning and then doing FFmpeg and then -I for input and then a space, and then we can do Control-V for verbatim and then escape. And then what do we want to do? We want to yank, I guess, let's yank until we are after the period, and then we want to go to the end, paste that, and then go to the end, or in an insert mode, and now we've got the file extension, or the file without its extension, and we can type a PNG, and then we want a space and then an and. Let's see if that worked. So we've got FFmpeg input, and then circles and stars, or circle, yeah, and stars, I guess. I'm not sure. It's been a while since I've touched this game. And yeah, so that looks like it's good. I don't think we need the -O for output. I think I always make that mistake. So the only thing that might be a little suspicious to me here is, like, what if this happens to not run because it's like there's new line characters or something that messes it up. I think shells are pretty resistant to that, but I could always do capital J, yeah. But I think you can select around a whole thing and do it, so we'll do V around paragraph and then capital J. It'll join it all into one nice line. And I'm trying to think, what would be the best way to run this? Could I, like, select, and then visually, can you pass it to the shell? Did that do anything? I'm not sure. This is a complete embarrassing, like, noob moment here for me. But I guess just in the interest of time and not looking for some insane new Vim command, I can just copy that to the system clipboard, quit bang that, paste it, and then hit enter. And it looks like we're converting through all of them. Yeah, pretty sweet. So, yeah, that was obviously embarrassing. Looks like we've got some of them probably I've already manually converted here and there, so I'll have to confirm a couple of times. But yeah, there's probably a better way to do that, to run the command finally from within Vim. Let's actually just check now that we've got everything. This looks good. So what we can do is open Vim with a period to open the directory, and I've got the oil plugin, which I love because you can do these similar kind of macros just directly on the file system, and then we can just filter out all our non-PNGs. So what we can do is use the V command, or let's select the whole file, which is the same thing as gbang, but why would you ever do that? Because V is just like 50% more efficient. and then PNG. So this will do something on all the lines that aren't PNGs. And then we hit a slash, and then we hit a D, so delete them. And now we've deleted 14 files, and if we write this, the oil plugin, as many of you probably know, will just write it to disk. So there we go. We quit out, and we've got everything as a PNG. So yeah, that's how I would do it. I think maybe it's even arguably a tiny bit faster than doing it manually, which is pretty shocking. Most Vim macros are just kind of a little personal enjoyment side quest and don't really help out. But yeah, I'm sure you could also solve this in many other ways. Cool bash scripting, probably. Someone could do it faster than me, or you could do a good find and replace kind of thing. Or maybe FFmpeg just has some kind of omni convert mode that I don't know about. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it. Catch you next time. Grass touching for people that are employed basically just means going outside, talking to girls, getting in shape, lifting weights, all of that stuff. I'm going to talk about mostly the getting in shape side of things, just because I don't know how to talk to girls. And I'm also going to keep things somewhat basic. It'll be targeted towards the type of person who uses an app that has Markdown in it somewhere, which is kind of all of us, but that's a great sign that you should be touching some grass. And I should also disclaim that I've never actually touched grass myself. I have watched a lot of YouTube videos about it though. You're dealt or something and you're doing some kind of fly motion, or you want to hit your tricep at a certain pack or more or less packs, is pretty much comes down to just how long your torso is. It matters how much fat you have covering up those muscle ridges, but you cannot genetically have a six-pack if you don't have enough muscle ridges. The thing is, someone who, like, their stomach just looks completely, like, they have no semblance of ab. Skiing is like it's like this person's arm is kind of planted like this at an angle if you were to look at them from the front, and that, like, indefinitely, and then once you stop.
What is that?
One of my viewers, Roger, recently challenged me to make Conway's Game of Life in types, and I love when you guys send me little challenges and messages and stuff, so I thought, okay. I thought that was a tough idea. So here's my implementation. I'm using the macOS file preview just because I was getting like some screen tearing issues with Zapper on UPDF. I didn't try Poplar on account of I'm lazy, but you know. And here's what it looks like when you hold down space. You can see I've got the glider gun rendering. It's a 500-page PDF, all rendered using types. You know what the Game of Life is like. Let me jump into how the code works. So I started off, I just tried to create like a working version. It was not optimized at all because premature optimization, that's the root of all evil. And that's actually like true. The more you program, the more you'll realize that. But basically, what it is, the first version was just like a imperative kind of 2D array, a standard approach where you have like an X and Y, array of arrays. And you can see I set up a board with a range of cells, and then I just kind of map it to another range of cells, and then I just return all zeros, so it's just an empty blackboard. And then at these positions, I set up like white cells, and then or 3, well, whatever, but still not super optimized. I haven't made Conway's Game of Life in a while, and so I found a super functional implementation in Clojure, and I tried to copy that. And they have a much cooler way of doing it, which is basically instead of having a 2D array, right, keeping track of all the positions and what they are, you only keep track of the live positions in like a hash set so that there's no duplicates. And then what you do is every frame you get all the neighbors of those live positions, and then you basically concatenate them all together so you have a big array, and then you run frequencies, which is like a pretty common functional language tool, on those things. And if you get like a neighbor 3 times in that concatenated set, you know that it's like actually for only storing live cells. And draw board is now also a little different because we don't actually store all the cells. So what I had to do instead was loop through the number of cells we have, render it as black, and by that I mean we're going to render it as a 1 or a 0, and then we can take that and map it to cell, and then we're good. And then I render it here at the very bottom for I in range 500. So yeah, this is a fun little project. I'm surprised about how much functional programming type supports. I didn't super get into it before, but I'm also sure that this is not fully optimized for what it could be. I mean, performance-wise, like, generating 500 pages in 10 seconds is pretty good, better than LaTeX for sure, but I'm sure it could also be much faster, and I'm probably doing something egregiously wrong, so I'll put the GitHub repository URL in the description or comments or something, and if you
However, I think it would be funny to have a larger following than the popular girls I knew in high school. What does it mean? Him. Holy shit. That's cool. Holy shit. Secret forum. YOLO. My coding is absolute real ones. What the fuck? What? I may be slow to respond. Holy shit.这什么游戏啊？是某个游戏的地图啊。What does it mean? Holy shit！ 唉，把事儿办了先 ，sublime。OBS sublime right？ Should I put it into notes or some shit? Or just no notes? Have notes and don't have notes, right? That's just two attributes. What the fuck is that? I don't know. Just don't know. I don't know. the fuck am I gonna do?哎呀，这他妈真可以！搞这 fight。真他妈有！手机上搜一下呢。 What is a model editor? I still don't know all the keyboard shortcuts and backdrops, so probably a good sign I don't need anything else. Well, for now. Configures pretty much everything you need. When you get comfortable, you create your own config, but I personally cycle between a few editors. My ADHD likes the KGI of West Coast, the simplicity of its end, and the nerdly feel of new. I'd move away from Superman. Eight months ago, God. Okay. Z? Silver Bullet 的大哥不是也叫 Z 吗
？Some people are still using LaTeX, and as much as that breaks my heart, I can't just cry about it. I have to actively take a role in changing that. So that's what this video is. It should convince you to use types. And if you somehow don't know what types is yet, it's just a modern replacement. But I would consider it more of a superset to LaTeX, because it has so much more functionality. But first, to address the elephant in the room, am I sponsored by Post Grape Nut Cereal? Sadly, not yet. I'm just giving them free product placement because I enjoy them as a company. The typed web experience mostly comes through the editor overleaf. I know for the people concerned about Vim and stuff, I'll get to that later, but basically, Types has its own equivalent, which is controlled by the Types company itself. I don't even know if they're a company, they're very open source. But Types.app is where you reach it, and it's got like an interface just like Overleaf. So if I open something up that won't get me canceled, I've got a project here that has like a ton of computation in it, and you can see it'll live re-render it, like basically instantly, quicker than Overleaf can re-render. It's also got full PIM support if you care about that, so it's like things, and it's like full PIM support. I can run my namesake command, norm, and insert stuff. Do anything you want with the Vim emulation, it's great. You can also share links with people. This is great for collaborating. I use this in class with people to do labs. If you want to like make your thing look more professional, it's very easy because you can get multiple cursors in it, Vim mode and everything, instant compilation. It's excellent. And then you can just download a PDF. Alright, and then the package experience. Types Universe has just a ton of packages on it, and basically everything you could ever need. Like, I know a lot of people saying, well, I have, like, XYZ LaTeX package that I need to write textbooks and stuff. I don't write advanced physics or biology or whatever textbooks, so I can't really relate to that, but I'm sure, like, that's a valid argument. But to me, it seems like, based on the Discord, there's, like, someone in every field at least working on some kind of template or package to draw anything. And this package, I don't really know how to pronounce it, but it basically lets you build up things that will let you draw pretty much anything you can imagine. And people have made like circuit diagrams, and I don't know, there's just everything. I find it hard to believe there's a package on LaTeX that couldn't be emulated in Types, because LaTeX is like weird macros and Types is Turing complete pretty much. I think it might actually be. So yeah. And then the big thing is a lot of people just considering it as a replacement, but Types is so much more than that. I think of it as a language that compiles to PNG, or so much more than that. The thing is a lot of people just considering it as a replacement, but Types is so much more than that. I think of it as a language that compiles to PNG or PDF or JPEG or any of those formats you want. And the reason for that is it has like full language features like for loops and if statements and all of that. And being able to compile to an image is actually so much more useful than you probably think. Because I use it in board game design to create and lay out different assets. You could use it for any number of things, to like auto-generate flyers or cards, business cards, whatever. People use it to auto-generate their resume. And another great thing about it, let's jump over to the command line, is you can actually like pipe std in and out of it, and it has just so many flags and stuff. It's got a bunch of subcommands that you'd have to go to the man pages for, but you can write very advanced scripts with it to do any of this stuff. You can also like control things all the way down to like pixels per inch, and you could pass in parameters to be rendered. It's just like, you'd have to read the whole manual, but it's huge. And then, the install process is like worlds better than LaTeX, where you have to install LaTeX Make or MacTeX or some huge binary. It's just like a very quick, you can even install it with Cargo, but whatever package manager you're using, it's just like tiny binary. I've already got it installed here, but you get the idea. It's like just an instant install pretty much compared to the size of LaTeX. And the command line experience, I'll just walk through that really quick too. So let's just make a testing directory, and then create a make.type. And then that was inefficient. I should have just done one command to do that, but whatever, you get the idea. So let's just make some math. Integral from 1 to 10 of x dx. And you have to do a space here, and actually I think it's integral, yeah. And then let's do actually 1 to infinity, just for the sake of more symbols. And let's get multi-line math actually too. I'll do that. So to compile this, all you have to do is types, compile, and then name the file. And then it'll compile it. If I list it, you can see there's a PDF there. If you want to recompile it every time the file changes, for instance, if you're using Zathra or something to preview it, there's types watch, which is a lot less of a headache. And then it'll just recompile every time something is changed. But the reason I didn't open that is actually there's a better way, in my opinion. And that is through the Types Preview plugin for NeoVim. it's through the LSP client called TinyMist, which is maintained by a guy who's like he responds to every comment and troubleshoots everything with you. Just an awesome dude. I've worked a little with him on maintaining some of the docs, and like the community on Typed is so excellent. So anyway, yeah, you can compile types to HTML, and actually I think it's like renders fragments of SVG or something. The guy who wrote it is like a computer science genius he wrote some paper about incremental computation or something, or incremental compiling of PDF shards or something. It's some brilliant thing that makes types like legendarily fast. So what you can do is, I have LeaderP to open it up, and it opens up a web preview. And that's a little weird, but it's like exactly the same as the PDF this would export. And then when you type stuff, it just like instantly updates in the browser. You can see like even if I have something like center command, I think I need parentheses. Align center. My bad. Let's make that a title. You can see beautiful, all working great. And then a couple other things just to showcase like the language's features, like the programming language features. You have functions, so I can do like let a equals and then do an arrow, I think. Yeah. And so you could pass in parameters and say like to render content hello and then B, and then we'll call the parameter B, and then I could call A, with let's do a for loop actually for I in range. It's kind of like Python, and then I'll just call A with I. And let's see, yeah. So you could do, and there's like any arbitrary styles, anything else. That's just an example of a for loop. And you have if statements, and there's first class functions. There's a language formatter for it and everything. The experience is just like head and shoulders above LaTeX in terms of installing and compiling and all of that. And you have full control over like the page size. Like immediately everything is native. So like set page and then width like 1 EM, height 1 EM. Hello. And then you can see like a tiny little page. So that's great for exporting images and stuff. If I wanted to do that, I think it's just like types compile. Let's actually do types compile help, maybe? No, it would be types help compile. There's a way to control the format. I imagine it might just be dash dash or dash F. So types compile dash F PNG, and then maybe F equals PNG actually, and then let's do main.type, and then boom, compile to a PNG. If we open that up, you can see, yeah, perfect, same as the web preview. And then I also have like an extra function in my config called export, and this allows me to just render types documents like that. So that's all well and good. Just how much smoother it is than LaTeX, all of that it's just brilliant. And the workflow stuff cannot be understated either. Some guy in my comments said like he's a photographer and he like prints out cards to sell at a local market or something, and he was thinking about using it. You can control as I mentioned, like the resolution through the CLI, like everything down to the smallest detail is controlled. And if it's not, because Types is like a young language, the maintainer of this is like actively responding to anyone who asks in the Discord, and will update it. And there's like just tons of work done and everything. The community is growing. It's like huge. It's so much more cool. So you can do types init, and then that was attached. So that should have created bone resume. Okay. Let's actually vim in there to see what's going on. I'm just gonna vim right here. Bone resume. Let's preview that bad boy. Oh wow, there's even some English. So yeah, that's how you create a template. You just kind of import, you can see import at preview. These are all stored in a Git repository. That's how you submit your own templates. But yeah, basically,
西部里的大哥也叫 Z。What the fuck happens, dude? What the fuck? What happens? God.这什么操作呀？你到底干了啥呀？